They thought a diss track would make their name echo through the streets. But instead, it signed their death warrant. These are the rappers who never lived to see their words go viral. Welcome to Shadowed Truths. Hit that subscribe button for daily updates on true crime stories like this. Thank you.
For many, the rap game is all about fame, fortune, and the art of wordplay. But for these 5 rappers, their words would cost them everything. Today, we're looking at the dangerous world of rap beefs, the real-life consequences that came after spitting bars that crossed the line. One rapper couldn't stand being outshined, so he taunted his rival. He thought he was ready for anything until his own death proved how wrong he was.
You talk about all these guns and shit. It been how long since the video been out? I ain't even hear no gunshots. Y'all hear any gunshots? Oh, I ain't hear no gunshots.
And one rapper couldn't respect bro code and keep it in his pants. This rapper thought he could juggle fame and betrayal. Then, this 13-year-old made his enemies list, and days later he would be gunned down. But that's not all. 48 hours, 49 shootings, Atlanta would become a graveyard, all connected by a diss track. These are the stories of the rappers who found themselves in a deadly game where every word could cost them their life. Before we begin, remember to share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's talk about the fine line between the art and the violence that can follow. Let's start with the story of Lil Jojo. Lil Jojo, born Joseph Coleman on April 28, 1994 in Chicago, Illinois, was a rapper on the rise. His music, like many drill rappers, was raw, aggressive, and reflective of the dangerous life he was living. Jojo grew up in the south side of Chicago, an area notorious for gang violence and poverty. Despite this environment, Jojo had a natural talent for rap and began using music as a way to express the pain and struggles he faced daily. Lil Jojo was affiliated with the Black Disciples, one of the most powerful street gangs in Chicago. However, Jojo wasn't just known for his gang affiliations. He was also quickly making a name for himself in the rap world. His lyrics, often filled with references to his life on the streets, spoke to the frustrations and anger that many young people in Chicago were feeling. At just 18 years old, Jojo had already gained attention on platforms like YouTube, where he began to release his tracks and build a fan base. But on the other side of the block was another rapper aiming at the heights. It all started on January 4th, 2012, when a 4-minute, 40-second video dropped on World Star Hip Hop. The footage showed a young child, no older than 6, losing his mind because Chief Keef had just gotten out of prison. The video went viral, leaving everyone wondering who this 16-year-old from Chicago was. It turned out his name was Keef Cozart, better known as Chief Keef. At the time, Keef was repping the Black Disciples and had already been in trouble with the law for gun charges. But after he got out, he quickly started making a name for himself in the rap game. He started recording from his grandma's house while under house arrest. One of his biggest hits, 300, referenced the Black Disciples and had the internet buzzing. His raw energy and street credibility made him an instant sensation, and before long, his breakout track, I Don't Like, garnered over 16 million views on YouTube. Even Kanye West jumped on the remix, pushing Keef's wave to a whole new level. Record labels were lining up to sign him, and despite the controversy surrounding his lyrics, he inked a multi-million-dollar deal with Interscope, along with a movie deal. But in the streets, things were getting heated. Just 3 blocks away from Keef's neighborhood, rapper Lil Jojo, affiliated with the Gangster Disciples, didn't like this. He started dissing Keef in videos, even releasing 300K, where the K stood for killer. Jojo and his crew threatened Keef, even taking things to the next level. Jojo's brother Cash Out recorded Keef's mom's terrified voice in a phone call as they were harassing her. This public humiliation only served to fuel the fire and turn the rivalry from a musical dispute into something far more dangerous. And the tension only escalated further. On September 4th, Jojo released a video of him and his crew rolling through Keef's hood, disrespecting Keef's boy Lil Reese. Jojo taunted, "I'm gonna kill you," and that wasn't just a lyric, they meant it. That very night, Jojo was riding a friend's bike when he was ambushed. A tan Ford Taurus pulled up alongside him and multiple shots were fired, hitting Jojo fatally. The 18-year-old rapper was struck and left bleeding on the street. He was rushed to the hospital but succumbed to his injuries shortly after the attack. But Keef, never one to hold back, took to Twitter to mock Jojo's death. He said Jojo had always wanted to be like him. The internet exploded with outrage, and there were even talks of Interscope, his record label, dropping Keef. However, Keef claimed his Twitter had been hacked, something no one bought. Jojo's killer or killers were never caught, and the case has long since gone cold. It's been 12 years, and while JoJo may be gone, the controversy surrounding his death and Keef's role in it still lingers in the streets and online. Now, do you remember the rapper I said I couldn't respect bro code and keep it in his pants? This is what he did to his childhood friend, G Money. G Money, aka Garrett Burton, was born on November 13, 1992 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a city known for its rough streets and complex gang culture. Growing up in this environment shaped G Money into the person he became, an artist who used his pain and experiences to fuel his music. He came from a close-knit family, but as with many young men in Baton Rouge, his surroundings often led him down a darker path. Before diving into music, G Money was heavily involved in the street life, a common theme in Baton Rouge's hip-hop scene. He found his escape and voice through rap, using it as a way to express the struggles and hardships of his life. He quickly became known for his gritty lyrics and street credibility. G Money was associated with the rap group TBG, Top Boy Gorilla, a collective that shared the same tough upbringing and reputation. In the mid-2010s, G Money started making himself with tracks that resonated with listeners familiar with his upbringing. His music told stories of survival, loyalty, and the reality of street life. But despite his growing success, G Money's life would be tragically cut short due to a falling out with someone he once considered a close friend, NBA Youngboy, a fellow Baton Rouge rapper and once ally. The tension between G Money and NBA Youngboy had been growing for months before it reached a deadly climax. But at the heart of their feud was a personal betrayal that involved Youngboy's sister. In 2017, G Money openly admitted in an interview that he had been involved with NBA Youngboy's sister, which caused significant friction between the two. Despite their years of friendship, this issue led to a public fallout, with G Money dropping diss tracks aimed at Youngboy and the two clashing over social media. But these diss tracks would soon escalate to something deadly. It was during this period that G Money released a scathing diss track titled Industry. In the track, he took direct shots at Youngboy, mocking him and calling him out for his perceived hypocrisy. But it wasn't just the music that escalated tensions. It was the underlying personal issues that festered. As the rivalry intensified, G Money's crew at TBG and NBA Youngboy's crew became locked in a battle of words and threats. Until something tragic would happen. Then, on that fateful day in September, G Money was leaving the studio outside the parking lot of his Baton Rouge on Dallas Drive when he was ambushed. A group of assailants pulled up on him in a car and shot him multiple times. The details surrounding the murder remain murky, but it is widely believed that Youngboy's camp was involved in orchestrating the attack. After G Money was killed, the police immediately launched an investigation into the shooting. They interviewed several people who were at the scene, but the investigation was complicated by the lack of physical evidence and the street code of silence that surrounded the entire situation. The police raided NBA Youngboy's house, and while they found several illegal firearms, they were unable to tie him directly to G Money's death. The authorities were left with circumstantial evidence and rumors, but they lacked a clear smoking gun that could point to a suspect. Despite the initial lack of clear evidence, the case continued to gain attention, particularly because of the high-profile nature of both rappers and their connections to the street life. But as the investigation dragged on, another name emerged, Lil Pop, a member of NBA Youngboy's crew. Lil Pop became a key figure in the case after making some controversial statements and actions that seemed to suggest he had a direct connection to G Money's murder. Eventually, it was revealed that Lil Pop had been present in Baton Rouge around the time of the murder, and his phone records suggested he had been involved in the incident in some capacity. While Lil Pop was not directly charged with the murder, he was arrested and charged with accessory after the fact. The case remains unresolved in many respects, with G Money's killer or killers still at large. But the violent nature of the rap feud has left a permanent scar on the Baton Rouge music scene. In the months following G Money's death, Lil Pop was arrested on charges related to firearms and drugs. The authorities believe that he may have played a role in helping the shooters, but again, there was insufficient evidence to charge him with murder. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison for illegal possession of firearms and conspiracy to commit a crime. Despite the significant time in prison, Lil Pop has continued to maintain his innocence in the killing of G Money. NBA Youngboy's name remained at the center of the drama, with many speculating that his crew had orchestrated the shooting as retaliation for G Money's diss track and public humiliation. However, without clear evidence, Youngboy was never formally charged, and his involvement in G Money's death remains an open question in the eyes of many. As for this rapper, he thought he could juggle fame and betrayal. OG Monmon. OG Monmon, born in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, was known for his fierce presence in the streets. Growing up in the tough neighborhoods of Southeast DC, he was entrenched in the hustle and gang culture from an early age. His music was his escape, and he quickly gained notoriety with tracks that spoke about the harsh realities of his life. But OG Mon Mon wasn't just a rapper. He was a fixture in his community, a man who ran with the toughest. He had a reputation for being a certified hitter in the DMV area and was always ready to back up his words with action. But his downfall began with a betrayal. OG Mon Mon got involved with a woman that caused a rift with his close friend and fellow rapper Big Flock. Big Flock and OG Mon Mon had been friends, but that bond was shattered when OG Mon Mon allegedly violated the bro code by hooking up with Flock's girlfriend. The fallout was immediate and intense. Big Flock responded by dropping a diss track that tore into OG Mon Mon's credibility, accusing him of being a snitch. This wasn't just any diss track. It was a public attack on OG Mon Mon's character, and it came at a time when OG Mon Mon was incarcerated. The track made him a target within the streets and the prison system. But when OG Mon Mon was released, he didn't let the disrespect slide. He dropped one of the most ruthless diss tracks ever, titled Truth. In this track, OG Mon Mon mocked Big Flock and his deceased friend C. Diddy using extremely disrespectful imagery, including shooting a music video at C. Diddy's grave. The lyrics were violent, and the video was equally gory, showing him pouring alcohol on the grave and even burning a photo of C. Diddy. This made the beef personal. The street tension between the two men escalated, but the authorities were slow to intervene. As with many hip-hop-related crimes, law enforcement had difficulty getting involved in the matter, until it would turn deadly.
I mean, people call me, ask me why I do that, this and that, but at the same time, what you mean?
By June 12, 2016, OG Man Man had already crossed the line. He was gunned down at a cookout in Southeast DC while hanging out with his friends. Someone approached him with a weapon and opened fire, killing him on the spot. The murder of OG Man Man immediately pointed fingers toward Big Flock, given their very public and violent beef. Police raided Big Flock's home and discovered weapons and narcotics. While they couldn't tie him directly to the murder, they found enough to charge him with illegal firearm possession and drug trafficking. Flock eventually pled guilty to the lesser charges and served time, but the murder remained unsolved. Although Big Flock was never officially charged with OG Man Man's death, he was still a key figure in the investigation. The investigation into OG Man Man's death slowly faded from the headlines, but for those in the DMV area, the tragedy remained a stark reminder of how far rap beefs can go. The loss of OG Man Man hit hard within his community. He was a well-known figure, respected for his music, and feared for his street reputation. His death left a void, and many of his friends and fans felt the tension rise between local gangs and crews. The way the feud between him and Big Flock played out, over personal matters and public insults, left people questioning the role of rap in fueling real-world violence. As for this 13-year-old, he had no clue he had made it to the list of his enemy, and they would come calling. Sanjay Samuel. 13-year-old Sanjay Samuel, popularly known as JB, was the youngest member of his family, cherished by his mother, who described him as a joyful, bright, and energetic young boy. His love for life was evident to all who knew him, and he had a special bond with his siblings and extended family. His mother fondly recalled his playful spirit, always making those around him smile. His family was his foundation, and they supported his every dream. Born in Queens, New York, he attended Martin Van Buren High School, Queen. Sadly, it would be on those streets to school that he would be shot and killed. As a freshman, JB was just beginning his journey into the complexities of teenage life. He loved basketball. However, basketball was more than just a hobby. It was his passion. JB's dreams of playing for his school's basketball team were only beginning to take shape, as he was known for his natural talent on the court. He spent countless hours practicing, honing his skills, and enjoying the thrill of the game. Basketball is not just a sport for JB, but a source of joy and purpose. But like many teens, Sanjay struggled with his own demons. On his Instagram account, JB made it obvious he repped SMM, which allegedly is Under the Bloods, a type of gang. According to several sources, JB had been involved in a fight with a fellow student, 16-year-old Flex Glow. But that fight would set off a chain of events no one saw coming. JB had won the fight against Flex Glow, who was 3 years older than him. However, after the fight, fellow students would go on to tease Flex Glow. This angered him and led him to take matters into his own hands, literally. On the morning of Monday, September 22, 2025, JB was walking to school with his friends when a senseless act of violence took place. Around 8:20 a.m., as JB and his group were near Dunkin' Donuts in Cambria Heights, 16-year-old Flex Glow, knowing the exact time to take his revenge, approached the group. But nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to witness. Flex Flow pulled out a gun and shot JB in the head. He then immediately fled the scene. JB, severely injured, was rushed to Cohen Children's Medical Center in critical condition, but his injuries were too severe and he was placed on life support. Despite the hopes of his family, JB tragically passed away a few days later, leaving a community in shock and grief. Local authorities received multiple calls regarding the shooting, and for the first 24 to 48 hours, they had no clear suspect. Witnesses were able to provide some details about the suspect, including a description of the shooter's appearance and the clothing they wore, but there were no leads to positively identify the individual responsible. The police scoured the area for surveillance footage, hoping to catch a glimpse of the perpetrator. It wasn't until a couple of days later that a shocking key piece of evidence surfaced: a diss song posted on social media by a local rapper. In the song, the artist mentioned freeing someone who had allegedly just committed a murder. A young man had posted the unreleased song on an Instagram post, which appeared to offer the public hints about who was allegedly behind the crime. Someone had mentioned in the comments about the alleged suspect being identified, and the poster had responded. As seen in the reposts and shares, many of his peers knew exactly who he was referring to. While they didn't necessarily enjoy the music, it was getting shared, especially considering he was speaking so openly about something that had yet to be confirmed to the public. As the investigation progressed, the NYPD released a still video from surveillance footage showing a young man fleeing the scene. The description matched that of Flex Glow, a teenager with a known history of altercations in the area. Not only that, Flex Glow was allegedly connected to a local gang, adding another layer of tension to the situation. However, despite the mounting evidence, Flex Glow remained on the run, and as of the latest updates, had not been apprehended by the police. The investigation was ongoing, but the NYPD is still searching for him at the time of the latest updates. Local social media played a significant role in identifying him, but the police had not yet captured him. But this next rapper's story would take us even deeper into the darkness of street violence. Lil Reaper. Rapper was just 18 years old when he lost his life during a chaotic shooting at Empire Park on July 24, 2025. Known in the streets as Lil Reaper, he was a rapper who made a name for himself with raw, street-inspired lyrics. Lil Reaper, hailing from Cleveland Avenue, was deeply tied to the fast-growing FM crew, Fast Money. Despite his involvement in the streets, Deshaun was much more to his community. He was a rising star, an embodiment of what it meant to hustle out of tough circumstances. In the hours leading up to his death, he was seen at a massive barbecue with over 100 people in attendance at Empire Park. This should have been a day of celebration, not one of violence. Just a few hours prior, Lil Reaper had released a diss track titled F His Ops. But before anyone could even process the track, his life would be tragically shortcut. At around 10 p.m. on the night of July 24, 2025, a shooting broke out at Empire Park during the barbecue. Lil Reaper was one of 6 people shot that night. He was the only one who didn't survive. The shooting left the park a chaotic scene, with remnants of the barbecue, including hot dogs and plates, scattered on the ground as people scrambled for safety. Police found more than 100 shell casings at the scene, but the horror wasn't contained to just one place. Victims were spread across different locations, all within a 2-mile radius. Deshaun's family was left in shock, and Atlanta streets were left to grieve another loss. As police arrived at Empire Park, it became clear that they were dealing with something larger than just a simple altercation gone wrong. But the shooting didn't stop at the park. Hours later, another crime scene was reported at Glen Rose Apartments, where 3 people had been shot. The violence didn't let up as police found a man shot in the leg just a short while later near Cleveland Avenue. As the night wore on, the investigation grew larger, but the answers remained elusive. Despite the multiple crime scenes and hours of footage reviewed, the police were left without any suspects. Initially, all authorities had to go on were witness statements and vague descriptions of the shooter, a man wearing a black hoodie and white sneakers. For hours, there were no confirmed details, and the police were scrambling for clues. But this was only the beginning of the murders to take place. By Friday morning, Metro Atlanta was shaken once again. Aaron Hay, a well-loved 33-year-old football coach known as Meatball and cousin of the famous Atlanta rapper Rue, was tragically shot and killed inside a townhouse. Officers responded to the Schuyler at Hill Street community on Schuyler Way Southeast just after 2:30 p.m. According to the Atlanta Police Department, they found 33-year-old Meatball suffering from a gunshot wound. Medics arrived at the scene and sadly pronounced him dead. 2 days later, the alleged perpetrator, 36-year-old Tarvis Williams, was apprehended. Authorities revealed that Williams was also accused of killing an unidentified man at a Shell station on Memorial Drive around 1 p.m., just 90 minutes before the shooting of Meatball. The death of Lil Reaper, a young, promising rapper, hit his community hard. Family members and close friends took to social media to express their grief and loss. Let their stories be a reminder. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any diss track ever could. These were 5 times rappers got killed after releasing a diss song. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Here are a few more videos you might like.